was appropriate considering the book we're reading. I like the word heinous. Yeah, Molly sat there today and the other one was breaking, so she changed it.
I don't want to break the chair.
Mrs. Breen, when are our final drafts due?
Yours are due tomorrow.
Okay.
I mean, sorry, Wednesday.
Oh.
Wednesday.
Wait, I thought it was Thursday.
Thursday too.
I thought it was Thursday. Can you look at my Works Cited page? Because, like, I have the final draft ready, but...
We can move it to Thursday if that's
That'd be
better for
great.
you.
I'm pretty sure.
I thought it was Thursday.
I didn't know when it was, so
You
I
know
just
what?
finished.
I'm fine with
I
it.
think it was because.
Yeah, it was.
Because
Because we
the
talked
day that we-
about.
That's right, yeah.
That we just.
Okay,
on
so.
Wednesday we talked.
I thought it was due today.
Yeah, I
No.
did too. Like, I had mine finished.
No, like I was freaking out because it wasn't sending, and I was like,
I'm
it's
so
due
glad.
today,
Since we
and
don't
I was
have
like
that
having a
one,
meltdown.
It's so nice because we just have time to like.
Yeah, you guys won't know what to do with
Yeah.
yourselves.
I was like
That's
procrastinating.
awesome.
I wrote the
That's like
entire
with me
5
every day,
paragraphs the
I'm so
night
excited
before
though
we
because
do.
like I'm gonna have time to get all
Apparently
of
it
our
was
stuff done and then have time to go to
I
bed.
was
Or
not
I'll
happy
be still watch the TV.
It's still watching
That's
series.
It'll be a good thing.
Okay, so are we all in agreement? Thursday? Thursday's good? If you get it done before then, you may give it to me, that's fine. And yes, Paige, I'll look that over for you.
What if we have a delay or cancellation?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to talk to you guys about. Bad weather is supposedly headed our way, ice and then snow, and which of course is not a good combination, so, if we're out tomorrow, make sure you take your novel with you and your vocab packet with you tonight, just in case, okay? If we're out Wednesday, same thing, just before you leave tonight, take stuff with you, okay? Your paper, that'll give you just more time to work on your paper, right, if we're out of school. So, yeah, I still want your paper to be due Thursday. If we happen to be out, I don't know what could happen, you know how the weather is. If we happen to be out Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, your paper will be due the next time I see you, like Friday, okay?
Mr. Boy said he's assuming that we'll probably still have school tomorrow. Like, we may not have dance, but we'll have school. And then probably Wednesday off.
Why would
and
we
back
not
on
have
Thursday.
Well, they said
Because the snow's not
Yeah.
supposed to come until
It's not
after we
just,
get
he said
here.
it's not
Yeah.
supposed
But
to
it's
come
the
till like
ice.
9.
Oh,
So we'll probably send us home before
especially
dance.
because we have a long student hours.
Yes.
It will, maybe we'll bring closure to the thing that happened like 4 years ago.
Yes.
It's how we all
They
thought.
called your parents. And they're like,
Oh,
who stayed
I
for
think
class?
so.
And Mr. Roth, it was like Olivia and like one other person.
Because I was like,
'cause their parents
I
couldn't
was
pick
here
them
till
up.
3:30 when I normally was, but I didn't stay for open.
I remember that
And
because
so I
Laura
was just like,
Laura Ollinger was like, "Ooh, we get to go home," and then it was like all.
Those were the only people that
misunderstanding.
stayed were the people whose parents couldn't pick them up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my mom was
I
like, "Okay, I'll get to school as soon as I can."
We all like, oh.
Skylar and I were like, "Woohoo!"
Then we got like yelled at.
I know, we got
I
crying.
started crying. He was like,
To
oh,
think
and
that
then
you
we
guys
all wrote
would leave the
apology
school.
letters to him.
Yeah, and we
Okay,
all
I
felt
thought
really
you guys
bad.
liked being here.
But
Okay,
yeah.
guys,
We were told.
what does heinous mean?
Hateful.
Hateful, abominable. Sometimes you might hear it on the news when they're describing a crime or a murder, a heinous crime. You can put an ly on the end, heinously. That's about it. You can't do ing, you can't do ed, you can't do another s. Yeah,
That sounds weird.
heinous, there's no heinous. So, heinous. And that's really the only time I've ever heard it used, is with a crime, a murder,
Mrs. Neal likes to use it when we cycle our feet.
Yeah, she's like, "Oh, that's heinous."
Oh, really?
Yes, it's so funny.
So-
I love her.
Okay then, you know where from. You've heard it used in everyday life.
Yes,
Alright.
she loves that word.
Vocab quiz Friday, so make sure you have that packet with you. And now let's get back to the start of the letter. I'm gonna discuss chapter 11. on, what's going on? Chapter 11.
Well, Mr. Dimsdale is like, has many times come close to like, going up and like preaching in front of people and like confessing what he's done. And so he's had a lot of sermons where he like hinted at it, but he doesn't come right out and say it. And even though like he feels awful about it and he feels like he should, he's just getting like even more respect, and people are just like think he's even greater than he is. And like, oh, he's so holy, because he's like talking about all this things even though they don't even understand what he's doing. And then Mr. Chillingworth really, really doesn't like him, but like he knows for sure that it was him now, and just knowing that Dimsdale knows he knows is like almost torture enough, and so he's happy with it. And then at like the last thing we see of Mr. Dimsdale is he walks out in the middle of the night, and he goes and stands where Hester was standing, like, cause like he knows he should have been there. I guess kind of like almost to punish himself, but
Yeah.
he's just too scared to do it with everyone else there.
Why do you think his sermons have been about his sin?
It's like so heavy on his heart, like that's all I can think about.
Yes, he's like a balloon that's just full of water and ready to burst. He wants his conscience wants to tell, right? But he also knows what the consequences of that would be. So in this case, would the truth set him free?
Mm-mm. Is that his conscience free?
Yeah.
It might set his conscience free. So you know that old saying, always tell the truth shall set you free. Do you believe that's true in this case?
Yeah,
Like-
but not externally,
But
like
the
not
people
like.
seem pretty stubborn, like the town, so I don't think that they forget about it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so internally, his conscience would be free, but what would some of the consequences be? Yeah, he would probably be relieved of his pastor duties.
So he'd also probably be relieved of his sickness.
Yeah.
He would be
Just be
shunned.
looked at like he's disgusting.
Like it'd be even worse for him than it was for Hester.
Okay, he might even have to go to jail,
Yeah, if
Right.
he was in like public, people would probably.
or maybe they'd stone him.
Not.
Maybe they would make him stand in the scaffold for hours, and what would make that worse would be that he waited so long, possibly, to admit his sin. He didn't step forward right away, right? Because he's gotta know that God would forgive him, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's a man of the cloth, God forgives. So he would have to ask his congregation, if God's gonna forgive me, why can't you? Because people just don't do that, right? It's human nature. Some people say they're godly, and they're not, right? Because it's hard. Forgiveness is one of the hardest things to do. Saying I'm sorry ranks up there with that, right? So if he were to announce to his community his part in Hester's, in their sin together, and that Pearl was actually his, it would be a test for the community, right? God would be testing them as well, correct? And how much faith they have, and could they actually forgive? You see where I'm going with that? And some might, because if he explained it to them that way, they would definitely want to continue to be godly, right? They wouldn't want God to look unfavorably upon them, so they would forgive him just for fear, they're God-fearing people. Others, though, would continue to be stubborn, like Lauren was saying, and not forgive, because they could never imagine themselves committing such a sin. Paige?
I think a lot of people struggle with like comparing sins, like, well, this sin was better or worse than the sin that I did, so mine's not that bad and I don't have to worry about it, and so then it's harder to forgive them, even though like you're a sinner as well.
Mm-hmm. I know what you mean. They say that all sins are equal in God's eyes. Mm-hmm. So does that mean that this lie he's telling is the same as someone murdering someone? Some say to God, yes, while most struggle to understand that, right?
You don't have to understand everything though.
Okay, true. Holly?
To like add on to what Paige said, like people who like they're kind of like hypocrites maybe
Okay.
because they they shun him and they disgust him like by him and they don't want to even look at him, but in reality they could have done something that could have been equivalent to what they did, but what he did, but he actually had the guts to confess to it.
Okay.
So they'd be hypocrites.
Okay. Is God using Hester and Dimsdale? Is this an example of God working in this community
I think so.
to make them a stronger community? Maybe God said this community needs practice in forgiving and not judging others. So here is the test I'm going to put before them. I don't know, something to think about. Maybe he picked two strong people. I mean, Hester's obviously one of the strongest female characters in literature, in my opinion, right? Having gone through what she went through and staying in that community in spite of the hatred towards her, raising her child in a community that's going to judge that child forever. Do you feel Hester and Pearl were ever forgiven? We're not done with the book yet, but so far, do you? Has Hester been forgiven?
I feel like some people might claim to forgive her, or like kind of like one of those things where, oh yeah, like we forgive you, and like you can just tell they're still hostile towards her, and they're not like they can't truly get themselves to forgive her.
Okay.
It's like an internal thing, like maybe they say it externally, but internally they still have a hatred towards her a little
Okay.
bit, and like disgust towards her, I think.
Do you think that they hate her because they think that's what they're supposed to do, or because that's how they really feel?
A little bit of both.
A little bit about, yeah, definitely.
Okay. Do you think that no matter how many good works she performs, they're still going to feel that way towards her?
Yeah.
She's always going to be the adulteress.
Especially when she's wearing an A on her bosom, like that just reminds everyone that, she was the person who committed the crime.
Okay. Okay. What else in chapter 11? Anything, anyone want to add anything to Paige's
Yeah, it was just a summary today.
summary?
Dimsdale's like hurting himself. Like, he's like, I forget what he did, but he's like harming himself.
Physically hurting
Yeah,
himself, yes. As we mentioned before, stress and guilt have ways of manifesting themselves. Physical hurt, mental hurt, emotional anguish, and a lot of people in today's society do things to themselves too, because of something that they're suffering through. And the cutting, I don't know if you may know cutters or you know what I'm talking about. That's just one example of ways that people physically harm themselves, yes.
Isn't it like in the Da Vinci Code, the guy, he like hurts himself because like God, I can't remember what he was doing, he like did it because
Because
he
he thought
felt
God,
like God wanted him to
too.
do that or something like that. He was like strangling his leg and like cutting himself, I don't know.
some people justify, you can justify anything that you do in your own twisted way. You can justify it. I'm doing this because of this. And Dimsdale all of his guilt is manifesting itself in all of these weird ways that he doesn't really have control over. Things are out of control. And so by confessing this, by it's seeping out in his weekly sermons, people are thinking he's wonderful. Oh, these are great sermons. Yes, because they're coming from someplace in him, right? Those are the best authors in my mind. Those are the best sermons when they speak from experience, right? When they write from experience. And that's where most authors come from. They're writing from something they've lived through or heard about from someone else or had personal experience with. And that's another thing I wanted to talk about or just throw out there as far as Hester goes. You never really know what someone's going through until you've walked a mile in their shoes, so to speak. And there's even a song called that, Walk a Mile in My Shoes. I don't know if you've ever heard it, but it's a great song, and it's exactly what it says it is. You do not know. You can't even imagine. You can say, you know,
Oh, I'm so
oh, I
sorry for
imagine,
you,
yeah,
yeah,
I can
like-
just imagine. Well, can you, you know?
Mhm.
And so, to know what it's like to be a teen mother, none of you know what that's like. I mean, you may have a friend who is, and you may see the struggles they go through. And even if you're in that home ec class that my daughter was in, where they brought a fake baby home for the weekend, you still don't know. You know, that brings things a little more into perspective, but it's not a real baby. And so, you know, to know what someone's going through is different than experiencing it yourself, you know, just having them explain it to you. So people can say they empathize with Hester, or even empathize with Dimsdale, but they don't really know. So I think Hawthorne, one of his purposes was to teach the reader to be more empathetic, sympathetic with the characters, right? I want to talk a little about the symbolism of the names. I alluded to this a little earlier, but Chillingsworth, Dimsdale, do you see any similarities in their names to their actual character? Holly?
Like Doomsday, that's what I thought.
Okay.
Dim, like, dark,
dismal and
dark,
like
yeah. Dim and dark.
Chillingsworth,
Hester
like
is just a nasty name too.
And
Like, it sounds like
Fester, yeah.
Okay,
Fester.
very
Yeah.
good, very good.
Yeah.
Let's analyze one at a time here. So Dimsdale, it's dim, it's dark, it's depressing, which is exactly his life right now, right? Chillingsworth, I mean, he's not a warm and fuzzy person, right? How would you describe him? How does his name relate to his character?
Harsh.
Okay, cold, harsh,
He wants revenge on Dimsdale.
okay, he
I
wants,
almost wanna say slimy.
okay,
Belmar.
he wants revenge, he's sly.
Send chills up my back.
Okay, he sends chills up your back, appropriately, Chillingsworth. And Hester, fester, because it is. What her sin is just festering in the community like a boil or a sore, and it's just irritating to the whole community. What other characters' names? Pearl.
But Pearl is like, that's
Like
like
the opposite
pure,
of what
that's
they
like
think
the
she
opposite
is.
of, yeah.
I think it's focused in that sense, it's not like her fault that she was born into this situation. Like, she can't help that her parents committed a sin, and she's just her own person.
Okay, I think we talked about this a little earlier. Where does a pearl come from?
The sea, the clam.
A clam, and it's not easy to get to. It's hard work to get a pearl out of a clam. But once you get it, it's rewarding. And that's Pearl. She's definitely come from hard work, from maybe not the work part, but from a stressful situation arises this beautiful child, right?
And don't like clams, what causes a pearl to form is like a piece of dirt gets in and they like coat it in like stuff.
So you could definitely apply that analogy to Hester and Dimsdale and Pearl. Isn't there part of you that wishes the three of them would just go off together and be a family? So what's keeping
three of them?
The three of them.
Like
Dimsdale.
Dimsdale Chilling. Oh. I didn't say that out loud. I was like, what?
Dimsdale and
One of
Hester
those
and Pearl.
days.
That would be an
One of those
interesting
days.
point in
I
life
know
as
it's
well.
gonna happen.
What's keeping them in this toxic community?
They're guilt. Like they're
They don't
Kind of
wanna
feel
like step down
yeah.
and give up, I guess.
They
Okay.
don't wanna like seem like they're the cowards who are like walking away and not facing their problems.
And he hasn't confessed to sin yet.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's stopping.
Or at least Hester doesn't want to be like the coward.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
Not so much, but she's
She's strong.
really,
like,
yeah,
she
she's
doesn't
really
wanna-
strong and independent. She always wanted to depend on him to really move. Like she's like, I'm just gonna face this. She's already like halfway through it, and
Okay.
why not just stay?
Okay. I mean, the book would have ended differently, for sure, if the three of them had just said, forget it, we're out of here. We're gonna go start our own life somewhere. That'd be a totally different book.
I think it'll be beneficial for Pearl though,
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
It's the only thing
And
that
Hester would have to be
they're,
there.
It's gonna really hurt her.
yeah.
But apply this to our own lives. Think of something you felt guilty about, and you don't have to share this, but did you walk away from it? Or did you confess it? And then continue to stay in that environment, whatever it was. I mean, none of you have committed anything like Hester and Dimsdale, but maybe there's been a situation in your life where it would have just been better to walk away, but you stayed.
It's almost a pride issue, cause like
Yeah,
when I'm
okay.
thinking about it, like I had a situation recently where I wouldn't have felt comfortable, like maybe it would have been easier to walk away, but I feel like to be fair to the people around you, and anyone else that may have been in a situation, like it's polite and respectful to like close it in a neat way and then continue living where you were, like in the situation, not necessarily the spot, but it's not really fair to yourself with other people around you just to let it go.
Alright, pride, that's a good one. And pride is, pride goeth before a fall, they say. And also, you don't want to let these people run you out of town, right? You gotta, that's gotta be one of the things she's thinking. I'm not gonna let these people get the best of me. Right? Lauren?
And she might also kind of feel like every time you have a problem, you can't just like walk away from it. Cause
Right.
like then she goes the next time, she has another problem there and walks away, like you can't just keep
True.
like
You're gonna run out of
walking away from all
towns.
your problems.
Run out of towns, yeah. Okay, so there are several major themes. That's what I love about Hawthorne. Several major themes that he's presented to the reader. Pride, forgiveness, sin. What else can you think of?
There's that guilt.
Guilt. Guilt is a terrible thing. It's eats at you.
It's like, it's kind of like a parasite,
Okay.
I guess.
It consumes your mind, right?
I can't think of anything.
You can't-
Yes.
yeah, you can't focus.
Like everything's connected to it.
Mm-hmm. And our conscience, which, you know, some people have a stronger conscience than others. But if you're able to compartmentalize things, that will help you. But if you are consumed, like Dimsdale is, consumed with what people think of you,
It's a people pleasing problem too.
Yes.
Which is ultimately a pride problem.
yes. And, you know, lots of us struggle with that people-pleasing issue. We want everyone to be happy. You know, that's not possible, right? Even in our own families. Think how small or big our families are. Even, okay, let me bring it home to you on a real personal level. Say, you get home tonight, your mom's like, let's go out to eat. Where's everybody wanna go? Can you please everyone in your house?
Oh my god.
There's gonna be someone who has a definite opinion and they're not gonna budge. Then you're gonna have a member of your family who's like, I don't care, let's just go somewhere, I'm fine with whatever, right? And so somebody eventually has to compromise, and you may feel like you're the one who gives in all the time, right? Or you may feel like, I'm gonna get my way, right? So something as simple as that, or even simpler, what's everybody want on their pizza? There's no pleasing everybody, right?
I think that's harder than choosing one.
I think so too.
Yeah.
If I were to pick up my phone right now and say, I'm gonna buy you guys pizza for lunch.
I wouldn't care, you can buy whatever you want.
But you know what I mean? If I said, what's everybody want? Oh, I don't like mushroom. Well, I don't like onions. Well, I don't like this.
care.
Right?
I don't like meat.
There would be, yeah, I don't like meat. I don't like, you know, I don't want thick crust. I don't want thin crust. There's, you know, a million, there would be no pleasing everyone. So imagine, you know, on a bigger scale, in Dimsdale's opinion, probably half of his congregation would appreciate his honesty, half would run him out of town. he's definitely more of a people pleaser than Hester. Would you agree with that?
Yes. She doesn't seem to care what people think of her.
Mm-mm.
She
Obviously
doesn't-
not.
Yeah, she doesn't care
She's
about
really-
pleasing people.
Mm-mm.
She's really confident in the person she is. Or
So-
in her choices.
That's why she doesn't leave.
Okay.
She's
It doesn't
standing
matter.
for
Like,
what
it
she
doesn't seem like
believes in.
she really like regrets her. I mean, she hasn't really said anything about like regretting her decision.
But you know, there comes a point where no matter what you've committed, and I'm not talking about murder or anything like that, but whatever sin you've committed, doesn't there come a point where you have to forgive yourself?
Forgiving yourself is harder than forgiving other people.
Yeah. We're our own worst critic, right? You guys, most of you in here are dancers. You could go out and dance the best dance anyone's ever seen, but you would still say, oh, but my arabesque or my whatever, I'm making up words here, my extension, you know, or you could sing your best song, or you could act your best in a play, and you'll always pick out the one thing, you know, you did wrong, and focus on that, no matter how people say, oh, it was just beautiful, don't worry about that, Paige.
I think we need to remember a lot of people, and I realize not everyone may agree with where I'm coming from, but like, God forgives us, and once he forgives, he forgets, and like, if he can forgive us for what we did, why should we continue to beat ourselves up about it and like keep going on and on? Like, you just have to be able to let it go yourself, which is really hard. Like, I struggle with it a lot.
And I think that's maybe where Hester is. You know? She's like, how much longer do you want me to keep beating myself up about what I did? Okay? Yes, it was bad. Right? But do I need to be reminded of it every day and every day? You know? Any other comments on Hester? Okay. Anything else in chapter 11? Are we on time? Ooh, very close. Good discussion. Very good discussion. You guys are good discussers. Read chapter 12. If I don't see you tomorrow. Actually, you guys, I'm gonna assign 12 and 13. They're 13 is so short. So read 12 and 13 for tomorrow. If we skip tomorrow, we'll discuss it Wednesday, okay? All right.
You look like a ballerina
I'm always like, when I put up my hair, I'm like, I wonder what they're thinking about it. Like, whether it might be
It's
better
funny
than-
though, they wear theirs down today and yours is up.
I had ballet today, and I had it down, but then it just gets so irritating. Like, I just want it out of the way.
What do you have next, Maria?
Um,